Hello and welcome to lecture 5. In today's lecture we will be talking about different types of writing. It's called narrative writing, okay, or narrative paragraphs more specifically. So what's a narrative? A narrative tells stories. When I say a narrative, it means a story, okay? So everyone has read narratives, watched them on television or at the movies, or heard them from other people. So a narrative paragraph tells a short story or describes an event, okay? So basically a short story. Obviously when you write them, the events or the stages of the story has to be told in a logical order, and I will show you how. Okay, first let's look at the example here. Sleeping in a farmhouse. Okay, the strangest experience in my life happened a year ago. Before I graduated from high school, I was 16 years old and my best friend Mark was 15. He invited me to visit him during the summer. I was staying with him in his farmhouse in the middle of the countryside. I shared a room with Mark, and our beds were separated by a table. Every morning, Mark's mom brought us a cup of hot tea in bed after we woke up. While we were sleeping one night, I could feel my bed moving. I thought I was dreaming. The next morning, Mark's mother brought us hot tea as usual. When she turned on the lights, we saw that our beds were pushed together and the table had moved. Mark said he didn't do it, and I didn't do it. We still don't know how the beds moved. What do you think? So as you can see here in the story, obviously when you write a narrative paragraph, the tense that is really used, usually the past tense, okay, because it's an event, so happened in the past. As you can see, happened a year ago. I graduated, okay. He invited, okay. So all of them is a past tense, and of course the past continuous. So while we were sleeping, okay. And also I think I don't know if he really used the past perfect here, but mostly these are the three tenses that usually used in a narrative paragraph: the past tense, the past continuous, and the past perfect, okay, as in had moved here and the table had moved, okay. So these are the tenses that you should focus on when you are writing a story. Alright, so how to write a narrative paragraph, and how can we start, and what shall we do at the beginning? Okay, so the first thing is, as you watch in a movie, you have to give a background information, okay. It has to start with the background information. So a narrative paragraph usually starts with the background information to set the scene, okay, for the story and provide context, so it can tell when and where. So the beginning, it has to start with when the event happened and where did it happen, okay, where and when the story happened. So as it showed in the paragraph, the first thing that he started with are the strangest experience in my life happened a year ago. Before I graduated from high school, I was 16 years old and my best friend Mark was 15. He invited me to visit him during the summer. So this is the setting the scene here. This is the beginning, okay? Background information. This is what you should start with. The second thing is the beginning of the story, okay? So the beginning of a narrative tell what happened first in the story. Alright? Here, of course, it's like a follow-up to the background, as a mini follow-up to the background. First you say when and where, and then you start given a little bit of details, okay, as if you are working on like a funnel. You start with like a general and then you go to the specific events. So the beginning of a narrative tell what happened first in the story. I was staying with him in his farmhouse in the middle of the countryside. I shared a room with Mark and our beds were separated by a table. Every morning Mark's mom brought us a cup of hot tea in bed after we woke up. Okay, so this is like a following up to the background information. First you say when and where, and then you say a little bit about what is really going on, okay, but you didn't actually say the specific events yet. We didn't enter to the specific events yet, okay. Now the middle of the story, the middle of the narrative is usually the main part. So that's actually when you tell like the main events, okay, the main idea, the main story, okay, the main suspense here. Tell most of the events in the story. So here, while we were sleeping one night, I could feel my bed moving. I thought I was dreaming. The next morning, Mark's mother brought us hot tea as usual. When she turned on the lights, we saw that our beds were pushed together and the table had moved. Okay, so here are the main events. The end of the story, the end of the narrative concludes, of course, the story and tells the final event and has a concluding remark, يعني some signature remark. You may leave the ending like open, okay, to suspense, you know, for the reader, as the writer did here in his paragraph. Mark said he didn't do it and I didn't do it. We still don't know how the beds moved. What do you think? So here we don't know what's really happened to the beds, okay. They left it like a mystery, like a riddle, okay, so for the reader to sort it out, for the reader to think. You can do this is optional, of course, if you want to end it in this way, or you can just like give us the real ending or what exactly happened, as you like. Now there are some type of expressions that usually used when writing narrative paragraphs, and one way to order two events is to use after, before, or when, okay. After shows the first event, meaning, example, I played soccer after school. I played soccer after school. So schooling happened first, not the soccer, okay. I went to school and then I played soccer. So I played soccer after school. Before shows the second event. For example, I couldn't play the guitar before I took lessons. So obviously the lessons happened first. You can't play guitar before having lessons, okay, before taking lessons. You have to take lessons in order to play the guitar. Or you can just do the reverse. Before I took the lessons, I couldn't play the guitar. Okay, you can do it in this way. Both are correct. When shows the first event happened just before the second event. For example, I told him the news when he called. So at the same time here, okay, I told him the news when he called. He called first, then I told him the news, okay. Or you can do the reverse. When he called, I told him the news, okay. So these are the kind of expressions that you may want to use when writing your narrative. Don't forget these expressions. This is of course the reference, and this is your homework. So choose one of these topics and write your own narrative paragraph, and of course you have to email them or send them to a message. Here you have like 4 topics. You please choose one. The first one is the first time you cooked your first meal. You can tell us a story about that. Of course you can imagine some events if you like. An embarrassing story that happened to you, or your first trip abroad. Or write about something like really special, an experience, a coincidence, a funny story that happened to you. Can't wait to read them. Thank you.